and I am here tonight to go through a little mini class on habits and routines. And I hope you enjoy it. I hope you have come kind of just in the mindset of just learning a little bit about thinking about your habits and your health habits and your routines, and some that maybe you'd like to get rid of, some that you'd like to install into your routine, your day. So this presentation is just going to go briefly over habits and routines and things like that. I'll give you the agenda. But before I get started with sharing my screen, I just wanted to let you know that nothing tonight is, it's basically your information. You can take what you want and leave the rest. This is not a medical presentation by any means, nor am I giving you any type of advice or treatment or diagnosis and things like that. So I just need to pass on that disclaimer, and let's get rolling. I'm going to share my screen and go through my PowerPoint, and then we'll make sure that there's time for questions at the end. So here we go. Healthy habits routine. This is where we are. We're getting started with the program here, and I wanted to thank you for coming. Again, my name is Bobbi McGrath, and I have put together just a brief class on habits and your healthy habits and routines, and a little bit about learning more about the kind of the behavioral piece to habits and routines. So we all know we'd love to have lasting habits that last and that are sustainable. And it takes time. It really does take time to do that. It takes also some motivation that we're going to talk about and different things like that, and finding a way for you to turn your habits and stack them into something like a morning routine, evening routine, to make your life easier. So we're going to talk a little bit about why you would do that, the benefits of it, some ins and outs on what a habit is, what a routine is, and things like that, and hopefully inspire you to take action at the end of this presentation. So this presentation, as I've already read my disclaimer, but basically it's going to be going over the health impacts of having habits and routines, especially for working on your health and making changes with your whether you have a diagnosis, with your weight, with your mental health. Your health all encompasses so many areas of your life, and so it's not just one-dimensional. And I'm aiming to empower you to take some of this knowledge and really sit with the time that you have for your self-care, and think about the things you spend your time on and whether or not you valued them, or is it something that you've just always done and you kind of don't realize that you don't really enjoy it, or it's something that you really would like to let go of, but you've done it for so long that you just keep doing it. So we're going to talk a little bit about those kinds of things tonight, and I'm going to move on. So a little bit about me. I have been happily married to my college sweetheart, Tim, for 34 years, and we have 3 adult children, 2 boys and a girl, and a dog, my little pride and joy, Little River. She's 3 years old. She's a golden doodle, and we just love her to death. I have a background in, I have an education background in physical education, but I went on and got my master's before I started my family in exercise physiology and cardiac rehab. And then I actually started my family and stayed home for quite a while, raised my kids, and then decided to become a certified health coach. As my kids were getting out of the nest, I needed to find my purpose, and spent a lot of time through those years working in the medical arena with some things with our family. And so I put that to use and got my health coaching certificate, and then moved on from that and got my certified regenerative health and detoxification certification 2 years ago. And then I also have a behavioral change specialist with my health coaching entity, which basically just means I help people with changing their behaviors and figuring out why they behave the way they do. And then I started my business 6 years ago. In May, it will be called Be For You. And I've been coaching, doing corporate wellness for a good portion of that time, and private coaching and doing community and wellness programs. I do a lot. I realized when I was thinking this year, I actually do a lot of pro bono, like volunteer kind of free educational webinars, not just to the community, but for different entities out there. I did one for a cancer support place in Hinsdale, and I've done it for the Magic Foundation, which is a foundation that we're involved in volunteering for. So the agenda tonight is we're going to go through really quick how to understand what a habit is and what a routine is, because there is a difference. The do's and don'ts of crafting your routine, the time frame for habit formation. A lot of times people don't really necessarily know how long it takes or what that entails. And then some tips for sustaining your habits and routines. And then I'm going to give you an option for further support if that is something you desire. By the end of this presentation, you're just like, hey, I really need to get my rear in gear. I've got options for you. So the first thing is, what is a habit? It sounds pretty simple, but the definition is that it's an impulse to do a behavior with little or no conscious thought. So it's just something you're just on autopilot. You do it. A lot of people don't even know that they're doing some of the habits that they're doing, and it requires it's acquired by repetition. So it's something you do over and over and over, and it's ingrained in your brain. Just like if you rode the same path to your school on your bike as a kid, you'd be wearing down, the grass or something like that. And it's kind of the same way with a habit. And then often habits are a single action, typically. Healthy habits. A habit can feel uncomfortable when we don't do it. So a lot of times, people have a habit of doing certain things in the morning for themselves or for their family, and they just feel funny when they don't do it. Adopting a new habit often means you have to unlearn an old one. You have to kind of unlearn or retrain yourself to not do something because you're doing something else in place of it. And a lot of times, especially when we get stressed, we go back into our old habits and patterns, and they still exist in us. That habit, you can pick it back up again. I know my dad smoked as a kid, and my brother and I had a twin brother, and we would always put up these signs, no smoking. We would actually hide his cigarettes. He'd buy those big cartons of them, and he'd keep them in his trunk. And we would hide them and that kind of stuff. And I remember he ended up quitting. I was in grade school sometime, and I remember having dreams over the course of my lifetime of seeing him starting smoking again. And it was one of those dreams where it was slow motion. I was like screaming like, no, Dad, don't do it. So it is ingrained in us. They don't necessarily go away. And they also provide some pleasure of relief, even if it isn't so healthy for us. Habits are a type of learning. So it is something that we're learning and we're teaching ourselves in our brain. And by forming a habit, our brains are able to free up processed power to focus on more complex tasks. So that can work to our benefit. When we have really healthy habits and we do them regularly, it just frees us up to be able to think about other things that we want to do in our day and have more choices. Some examples of simple habits, we all have them, but like brushing your teeth, washing your hands, making your bed in the morning, which is one thing that I do. A lot of people don't like to make their bed, but I enjoy making the bed. I think I just kind of like to wipe up the day or wash off the day before and make my bed and start anew. Fingernail biting, there's a lot of bad habits. I didn't want to put a ton on here, but fingernail biting is a habit. Walking your dog in the morning is a habit. And then we're going to go into routines. So what is a routine? A routine is a series of behaviors and actions performed in a particular order, typically. And we have to maintain focus on that. And it cannot be put typically on autopilot because there's too many steps. And it's frequently repeated. A routine is something you repeat over and over and over. Routines can feel uncomfortable, meaning like that they're difficult or tired or tedious. And when you do them, sometimes they also can bring comfort and familiarity. I know when I was a kid, my brother and our job was to drag those metal garbage cans down to the street once a week. And I absolutely hated that routine. I didn't like it. But there were other routines as a kid I did like, like coming home from church and my dad and mom would make a really nice Sunday breakfast. That was a routine, and we would help them sometimes. And so there's just things that can be good and things that can be bad, but habits also are a part of our day. Examples of routine. This is just a nighttime routine. I'm trying to walk you through a pictorial here with the person. She's stretching, or someone doing stretching, and then she's taking off her makeup and cleaning up her face and putting on her pajamas. You can see the guy is brushing his teeth. Some people in their nighttime routine find it helpful to journal. It helps to clear out the brain and kind of get rid of feelings and thoughts, maybe making a to-do list for the next day. Reading and calming down is a part of a great nighttime routine. And then smelling some type of essential oil is excellent also as a part of a nighttime routine. So this is just like one small mini nighttime routine that I came up with. Essential oils, by the way, we use them at my house, and they're excellent for part of stimulating your brain and giving it that cue that you are getting ready for bed. So any way I can get myself to calm down and relax and be ready to sleep, I will take it. And essential oils are great. Benefits of habits and routines. There's a lot. So I didn't want to fill up the slide with a bunch of words, which it looks actually like I did here. But having a routine can be helpful, and in times of unpredictability and uncertainty. So that is one thing I found, especially for kids, when it's very stressful, when their life is stressful and your life is stressful, having some type of a routine really does help release stress. It helps you know what's coming down the pipe and what's going to be next, and knowing what is coming and what you need to do next can make it a lot less stressful on you. And like I said earlier in the earlier slide, when you have a routine or a habit, it frees up your brain to have space to do other things that are more complex. Implementing a structure to your day, and it can give you a positive mindset. And it can also improve your focus and organization and productivity. So if you're a person who likes to get ready for their day, for the next day, the night before, those are habits and routines. They're excellent for just making you feel more comfortable when you're going to bed, that you've got everything laid out, you know what's going on, your gym bag's ready, your lunch is packed if you're taking it. If you got to get out of the house early, sometimes when I have to get out of the house early, I literally put things in my car so I know I will not leave them behind. Having routine helps you make time for self-care. So if you have made that time, prepared yourself for the next day, and you've done it early enough, then you have that window of time that you can actually have a bedtime routine. Routines like meal planning and prepping can support things like weight control and avoid stress eating or eating out too much. Because if you plan and you have a routine of, like, let's say one day a week you make a bunch of food like we do at our house, and we've got it in glass containers in the refrigerator, and you can probably whip up any kind of healthy bowl at any moment in my house most days. And it just takes the pressure, especially off when it's like 3, 4 o'clock and you're like, oh, I don't know what's for dinner. You know what's for dinner because you've already made it a few days before. Doesn't mean you have to make everything. Like, a lot of people don't like meat made a few days before, but roasted vegetables and different things like that. And so these are things that I help my clients with when I help them think through how they can implement things into their lifestyle. And then cultivating healthy habits improves self-esteem and confidence, for sure. Do's and don'ts of crafting a routine. Starting small and incrementally building. I think it's really, really important when I'm starting to coach somebody that when we come up with their goals and their habits and things that they're going to be doing, is to start small and actually maybe do something that they're like, well, that's easy. I can do that. What do you mean? I only have to get up and work out 2 days a week. Yeah. Why don't we start small and get the wins in, and then you can build from there and incrementally increase it. And then begin with manageable tasks and gradually add complexity. And that means, making things harder, not necessarily always more complex, but harder for you, meaning like heavier weights, or maybe you're going to be cooking a few more days per week than you normally do, or you're going to need to, maybe order some things online so you can have a home gym, or things that you're going to be working on, like taking a class if there's something that you need to be doing for your nervous system. Just things that are just a little bit more complex, and you just work into that gradually. And then striving for consistency. I would have to say, if I were to tell you the number one thing that across the board my clients will struggle with, is consistency. Being consistent and making sure that that goal that you have, that we'll talk a little bit more about, is consistent. And everybody messes up and falls off the wagon and has a day here or there. But if you can be consistent, you can really, really make a big dent in the things that you're trying to accomplish. And then personalizing and tailoring to suit your preferences and styles. You want to like what you're doing. You want to enjoy the things that you're doing, because if you're not, you're not going to last. It's not going to sustain. If you pick up running because your neighbor runs, but you hate running, you're probably not going to run on the days that she's not around or he's not around. And, that's not going to really support your issues. So finding out what's tailored to you, and then incorporating accountability. Who knows that you're going to be doing this habit besides you? Do you have somebody waiting for you to do this habit, or do you have somebody that's helping you keep track? Finding a friend to share a goal with or something like that is really finds success for a lot of people. And then avoiding overwhelm by keeping it simple. Sometimes people want to, get so pumped up to do some new habits and routines and starting the new year off especially, and they just self-sabotage themselves because they've just made it so complicated, too many things, too many balls in the air, too many plates on the table, that kind of thing. And make sure you just start simple, and then you can move up from there. And then avoid being rigid, because a lot of times people may have habits or routines that they start, and then it becomes impulsive, compulsive, like they can't not do it, or they get very upset when that habit can't happen, or that routine gets interrupted. Those are signs that you may need to do a little adjustment. You may need to give your adrenal glands some love, because your adrenal glands have some root in that type of compulsive behavior. So if you find, or you hear someone saying, you're really kind of a little too aggressive with that, or you're being not flexible, those are kind of cues that you might want to take a step back and take a look at it. But then you also want to make sure that you have flexibility and balance to avoid monotony. So if you do the same thing day in and day out with exercise or food or things like that, you got to spice it up and mix it up, and maybe consider doing that on a seasonal basis versus every week. But if you change it up in the seasons, that can be a great way to just keep things fresh. And then lastly, don't expect perfection, whether it's perfection for yourself or perfection for someone else in your household, especially your spouse or your kids, or your partner. Perfection is not your friend. It is the evil side of goal setting, and it can bring you down pretty quick. All right, moving on. Time frame for habit formation. What the heck is 2190? There is a formula, or some studies done, and you probably heard it takes X amount of days to create a habit. Well, it's kind of not necessarily hard and fast. It's 21 days they've found to create a habit, but it's 90 days to get it to stick and be a part of your lifestyle. So that's 3 full months of doing this habit for pretty much every day, or whatever you've decided it to be, to keep it as a lifestyle habit. So consider that when you're planning for things, or making goals for yourself, or working with a health coach, or working with your kids or anyone else. Think about the fact that it's 21 days to get the habit into just like being a part of your life, and then 90 days to make it more automated. So it's not something you have to think about all the time. All right, habit stacking. What is habit stacking? I mentioned that in the promos. Habit stacking is like linking new habits to existing ones to form a stack. So for instance, let's say there is a new supplement you want to add into your day. or there's something that you really need to take in the morning, or do in the morning, I always tell people, put it by your toothbrush, because I hope you're brushing your teeth when you get up before you leave the house or you go do whatever it is you're going to do that day. If you put it by your toothbrush, you're going to remember to do it, at least in the beginning, until it becomes part of your lifestyle. So habit stacking is linking it to something that you already do, and that helps to support completion, consistency, and it also lowers the stress of having to remember, because you typically are in the habit of brushing your teeth or whatever skill or habit that you know that you're going to do no matter what. And that way you don't forget to do it. And then, like, an example might be someone might say, I really want to incorporate lunges into my day, which I know sounds funny, but if you break up lunges throughout the day, you can get a whole lot in. So an example might be when you head to the bathroom, before or after, you do 5 lunges on each leg. And by the end of the day, you might be surprised how many lunges you can get in. All right, factors impacting time frame and habit formation. The number one thing that impacts informing a habit is motivation. I work a lot with my clients on talking about why they want to have the habit or the routine. What is it behind that is going to drive it? And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But motivation is the number one thing. If you do not have your own motivation about that, your chances of sustaining the habit or the routine are pretty low over time. And then complexity is definitely something that's going to impact it, because the more complex a routine or habit is, the longer it's going to take you to automate that in your brain and to put it into your lifestyle so that it's not something you have to think so much about. So think about the first time you ever, you know, shot a basketball into a hoop. That's a really complex skill. And over time, people can get really good at it when they repeat, but it's complex. So you're not going to pick up a basketball and just swish it on the first time like Caitlin Clark. It's gonna take you some time to do that. So complexity, think about what it is that you're doing, and don't beat yourself up if it's a complex habit or a routine. And then the third thing, like I mentioned, is consistency. If you are not consistent on the habits that you're trying to form, whether it's, let's say, I'm going to give you an example of eating a plant-based diet. Let's say you really just want to cut out a lot of things out of your diet that are acid forming, which is one of the things that I work on with my clients. And let's say you want to cut that out, but you keep waffling back and forth. And maybe your goal is to really reduce your inflammation, which you can do with different lifestyle modifications and diet modifications. But if you're inconsistent, meaning during the week, maybe you eat plant-based, but on the weekend, you don't. It's that inconsistency is going to just constantly keep you from really cementing some good habits and routines for yourself to reach the goal. Maybe it's not to be plant-based forever, but if there's a goal in mind that plant-based is going to get you, through your detox and things like that, then you got to be consistent. So consistency and figuring out how to be consistent is part of the behavioral change. All right, intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is defined as doing an activity for its inherent satisfaction rather than for someone's separable consequences. Meaning you got to want it yourself, because if you go like this guy and climb that wall for somebody else, chances are if it gets really difficult, it's not an intrinsic motivation, it's not something you want to do, you're probably, one, you're going to hate it, not enjoy it, and two, you're probably not going to have the best results. When you are intrinsically motivated, a person is moved to act for the fun or the challenge entailed rather than the external products, pressures, or rewards. And that you can really, really, really see when you're around kids. There's some kids who jump into everything. They just want to try everything and do everything. And then there's other kids, you can tell they're out there because their parents want them to be out there. Or someone else wants them to be out there. They're not really enjoying it. They're maybe potentially being made to do it or things like that. And that just isn't going to work. And I know we have to do that as parents sometimes. We got to expose our kids to things, but we also have to realize that there's an intrinsic motivation. And some kids are just wired that way more than others. So when you're working on your own habits and routines, really spend some time on the why. Sit back and say, why am I doing this? Why do I want this? Do I want this, or is this a why for someone else? And think about that. And that would be something that can probably help you work on getting those habits down to ones that you really want. So tips for sustaining habits and routines would be prioritizing your self-care and flexibility. If you don't give yourself any time, your habits and routines are not going to happen. Or they're going to be rushed, skipped, tossed over, on a stressful day. Forget it. I'm not going to have that bedtime routine. I know that happens to me. Sometimes I work late and away goes my bedtime, relaxation time. And then embracing setbacks as learning opportunities. Anytime you have a setback, no matter what it is, you fell off the wagon, you decided to go, no alcohol for 30 days, and you run into a roadblock, go to a party and have a drink, start over. Take the setback as a learning experience and maybe look at what it was that put you behind the 8 ball or made you detour from your routine or habit, and see if the next time that comes up, you can put some supports in place to make that not happen. Then always when you have a setback, you want to step back and review and adjust your routine. Like, was maybe, did you shoot too far? Did you make it the bar too high right out of the gate? Maybe it's not a good day for that habit. Maybe that habit needs to be switched to a weekend, or a routine needs to be changed. Maybe you just really need to sit down and spend some time thinking about that. And then lastly, seek support from your peers for helping you, or pros. One of the things I enjoy is really helping people break down what it is they want to do and how to get to that place and what's keeping them from doing it. And sometimes just even having that simple conversation with someone is enough for them to realize that they just need to make some changes in their life. They need to let some things go that aren't serving them, and they need to incorporate things that are going to help them and improve their health and reach their goals faster by letting go of some things that just maybe creeped in that they just didn't even realize. Embracing the setback, a big part of trying something new is failing. And so if you're going to be stuck in perfection, you're going to always be beating yourself up or worried that you're going to be a quitter. Plan ahead for setbacks and have specific steps you can take to pick yourself up again. That's so, so important to teach yourself, but then also to model, because anyone that you are, if you're a parent or you have someone that you take care of, when you model how to handle a setback, it really can impact a lot of people around you, no matter who it is. If you have something that's really, difficult for you to handle, but you pick yourself back up and you kind of keep a positive attitude and you talk about, yeah, that stunk because, I didn't reach my goal, whatever that might be. But it's how you get back in the game, and it's how you handle those setbacks that really kind of, I feel like, shows someone's character. And those are the times where people say, wow, you know what? If that was me, I don't know if I would have got up off the ground. But that person pulled herself back up, got back in the game, or changed course. Sometimes you just course correct, and maybe what you originally set out to do needs to be reevaluated. What is your biggest hurdle with your habits and routines? I'd like to know. So I'm not going to come off of share, but I know you guys can unmute yourself. If anybody would like to give me their biggest hurdle with habits or routines, I'd love to hear just somebody comment with that, because I know mine, but I'd love to hear what yours are. Everybody's shy today. All right, well, I will share one of mine. My biggest hurdle with habits and routines is that I tend to do the loudest screaming thing first. So if something really is urgent, I will take care of it, which, if you've ever heard of that, it might be urgent, but it's not a priority kind of thing. And I've been working really hard, especially today when I needed to get some things done with this presentation. I could have gotten distracted by a million things, but I just kept saying, what's priority, what's priority, what's priority? And I think if you spend some time in that space, you will start to see some changes happen when you go back to what your priority is. So I want you to consider right now what habits or routines you want to start, or what habits or routines maybe that you used to do, but you just don't do anymore. And I listed a few here. Um, Consistent exercise, and that doesn't have to be every day, but I would hope that you could get some healthy movement in every day. Maybe it is a bedtime routine because studies show that if you have a bedtime routine, you actually sleep better. You sleep more sound. Meal planning and prepping, I already talked a little bit about how that can take stress off of your household and help you eat healthier and help you on stressful days not eat or go out to eat more because you just didn't plan and you don't have any food ready. And then maybe you would want to have a stress reduction practice or something like a mindfulness practice to really tune into your nervous system, calm your nervous system, because I think a lot of people run around and they do a lot for other people, and then when it comes time for their own self-care, the tank is empty. And so that's one of the things I encourage people to think about when they are working on habits or routines, is to make sure that stress reduction or mindfulness or breath work or anything that's going to, what I call, give you space in your nervous system. Instead of living at the edge, you've got this space. Um, if you don't have that type of thing in your healthcare, self-care toolbox, I would highly recommend that you do that, because it's going to improve your longevity on this earth. It's going to make the time you are on this earth much more enjoyable, and you're going to be a lot more enjoyable to be around when you have space in your nervous system. So I want to invite you all to think about your habits. And if this is something that you're interested in pursuing more, I've got just the plan for you. It's a program called the 21-Day Habit Challenge, and it starts next Monday. So it's not quite a week away, and it lasts for 21 days. So it's a 21-day program. You get a success guide that's got exactly what you need to be doing in it. There's 5 habits that we'll be working on. It's the 5 same habits every day. And we meet as a group once a week, and I do a PowerPoint, a little mini PowerPoint, and we talk as a group, and I do live health coaching. You are also going to get a separate document with recipes in it. So if it's something that you struggle with eating whole foods and getting the junk out of your kitchen, that will be something that you can work on. But I'm offering this to you. There's an early bird pricing through tomorrow night for $129, and then after that it's $149. So I wanted to show you really quick. You're going to be getting a success guide with recipes. And then, like I said, you're going to have live coaching with me. And you will be having time with me in person, not videos and things, although I will be giving you some videos. And you're going to also have a community group through Facebook. It's a private Facebook group. If you're not on Facebook, that's not a problem. You will still get a daily touch from an email and an opportunity on a weekly basis or in the Facebook group to connect with people that are in the same boat as you, trying to do the same 5 habits on a daily basis. Share your wins, share maybe some struggles that you have. And a lot of people found that that was really a great way to be able to get through the 21 days and come out the other side with a plan for themselves to move forward, a self-care toolbox they enjoy. I give you lots of ideas and lots of support. And it's really a bonding time. And it's also a time to ask questions on a weekly basis, because you might have had a question that you forgot to ask. And so each week we meet, and then there's a wrap-up call. And then I like it because people get a chance to coach with me. They get their feet wet with health coaching and a group program, and it kind of spurs them on to really pick up the pieces to their health and move forward. And it's a great time to do it because it's spring, and we're going to be taking off these cold clothes, these cold weather clothes, and hats and boots and scarves and long sleeves. We're going to be putting on shorts and swimsuits and t-shirts pretty soon. So hopefully that is something that will spur you on if you're a person who maybe has not gotten a lot of activity this winter and feel kind of sluggish. It's a great time to do some spring cleaning on your health. So I'm inviting you to do that. And I wanted to show you some testimonials of people that went through the 21-day challenge last fall. We had 16 people go through with me. And it was really nice because each week when we had the PowerPoints and we met typically on a Sunday afternoon or a Monday night, And it was nice because it was a group, small enough group that people got to feel comfortable to ask questions online and to be open about their challenges and struggles. And it was an opportunity for me to be able to do on-the-spot health coaching with people. So these are some testimonials that some of the participants were willingly giving me, and I wanted to share those with you. So you saw that people did feel like they were held accountable, that they felt that they had tools and that things were attainable, and that they were challenged, and they found some really good resources. Thanks for coming. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and see who's still here, and then you guys can come off of the mic and ask questions. But right now, I'm going to put in the chat a link to do the 21-day challenge. I just need to go get it really quick. Hold on. All right. So in the chat, you can see that there is a link to subscribe, get more information about the 21-day challenge. It's $129, like I said, and it'll be going up to $149 in 2 days. So by, see what's today, Tuesday. So by Thursday, you pretty much have like 24 hours to do it. It's fun. It's been out there for a while. So I'm just kind of letting people know that this is an option for them, and would love to have you in the group if you are interested in doing it. If you have any questions, feel free to come off mute and let me know. I'm here for you all, and I will make sure that anybody registered for this will get the replay so they can see the rest of the presentation again, or if they came in late, you can catch the full thing. For now, let me see, who else? I don't see any questions. If you're not sure how to use this tool, you can go to the sidebar, and up at the top it'll say chat. So you click on that, and then you should get an option to put the chat, put some information in the chat if you'd like to. I'm going to leave it here. My email, I'll put my email too. It's b4u@bmcgrath, or b4u@gmail.com. If you have any questions about the 21-day challenge, you want to connect with me in any way, you're interested in coaching with me privately or corporately, that's how you can get a hold of me. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. And I hope you have an enjoyable evening and you have a great spring. And think about joining the challenge, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks all for coming, and I will let you go, and I'll stop the recording. Have a nice evening.